Ryan, and this is the second Game Development Club podcast, co-hosted today by Manu and myself. Today, Mr. Jeremy Boetticher will be on our podcast. He's a former officer of the Game Development Club and the developer of Dictators, Dictaters, a strategy game where you try to dominate a world of potatoes as one of several competing potato factions. Check out his game on the App Store if you have an iPhone or on Google Play if you use an Android device. We hope you'll learn a lot from his story of making a game all by himself. I guess I'll start out with a little something. Actually, just to prepare for this podcast, I actually downloaded Dictators, so you got another customer.
Nice.
There you go. Yeah, it's actually a really good game.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, it's like, I got to right now I'm at like the mid game, at like around 50 days, 40 days into Conquest. But yeah, I guess for any people who aren't familiar with Dictators, it's a 4X strategy game. 4X standing for explore, expand, exploit, exterminate. Basically, you're like usually the leader of an empire, and you're trying to conquer everything. This guy developed Dictators, and yeah, and Dictators is a 4X game. So let's see. Right now, I've tried it out, and like it's actually pretty difficult. Kind of. I've been trying to expand, but like it seems like everything just keeps getting everything
taken.
Raids are actually okay. Because it's easy to take back land, but expanding is the really fun part, and it's also the really challenging part. So I just want to start off with how did you balance the game? Let's start with that.
Okay, so balancing is like the hardest thing that I struggle with, because I'm just one guy.
Ooh.
I'm making this entire game, right? Whereas the Civilization series, they have lots of experience with these types of games, and they have entire teams. So what I took was input. Well, first I had a demo, and I took input from alpha testers and beta testers to figure out what made it fun, what they liked, and really try to figure out, okay, what makes it a good game, what makes it balanced, what seems unfair, and what the meta was, basically. And even after launch, there were a lot of things that still had to be balanced, because I kind of had like a rocky launch, and afterwards I was like, okay, there's still a lot that still needs to be done. For example, there was an economic victory where you got 1 million potatoes and you would win. Except that was way too easy. People were able to get it on day 27.
Whoa.
Yeah. All right. Well,
I gotta say, you definitely done that a bit. Right now, I'm stuck at 3,000 potatoes at day 40. So like,
yeah.
What?
Well, yeah.
That's a change.
So there was a meta. There was a meta that developed. So I had to say, okay, well, there need to be extra things that make it harder, things that make it less rewarding, things that make the domination victory more rewarding, and that's basically my process for figuring out what needs to be changed. It's kind of difficult to figure out, okay, people don't like this, because you can't simply ask. I found out that you can't ask, what don't you like about the game, or what do you like a game? Because the things that they say they don't like is, I don't like losing. And what do you like? What do they like? I like winning. Big surprise, right? Okay, so you have to phrase it in a way that what seems balanced, what seems fair, because there has to be some element of difficulty to make it a rewarding experience. And I think I succeeded at that to some extent. I mean, there are a lot of issues with it still, but I think it's all right.
Well, I think so too, actually. Yeah. Again, like, it went. Your game went from 1,000,000 potatoes in 30 days to 3,000 potatoes in 40. So, but it feels a lot more. It feels a lot more rewarding when you actually like conquer a place with like 20,000 HP. Well, like 20,000 health points.
Right.
Like basically a really high defense. An area with really high defense. It feels like quite an accomplishment. You have to like
well, I mean,
your army and research more stuff.
Well, that's what I was aiming for, because this type of game, there are usually a lot of different strategies that you could take. Even role play, for example, like you could be completely peaceful and still win the game, basically. And so like there are different aspects of that every player finds, right? So like, you may like the fighting aspect of it, but other people like the speed running aspect to it. So there's a lot still to it that I try to appease everyone, but you can't.
I suppose it's good to know that you're at least like you're focusing on certain things, and you're still trying to. You're recognizing that you can't appease everyone, but you're still trying at it. That's pretty. Yeah.
Well, the most important thing to remember at this point is that there are people to appease. And that's something in of itself. It started from nothing, and now there are people who actually play it and are actually better than me at the game. So, they just you do what the players want. But at the end of the day, I mean, a game is so to create the game, I licensed a company. So I own a company called Cogniad LLC, and that's what it's licensed under. And at the end of the day, it has to stay a company, which I think was the main issue with the development. I didn't see it as much of a company at the start, and I went, okay, I'm just going to make a game, and it's going to be cool. So it's not generating as much revenue as I wish that it would, but sometimes, you just have to keep on working on it to hopefully get somewhere.
I see. So that's where the drive is.
Oh, yeah. I actually haven't played your game yet. I'll definitely check it out. It seems pretty interesting from what you and Ryan have been talking about. If I was to ask anything, how did you actually market your game? Because I think the actual game development, that's one particular set of skills, but marketing is also a completely different one. So how do you find success with that?
Well, it depends on how you define success. So marketing is the most important part of game development. Because at the end of the day, if you make a game, you spend a whole bunch of time and money on it, but it doesn't make any money, it's kind of a disappointment, right? Like if I calculate it, with the 2,500 plus hours that I've put into this game, I've made 44 cents for every hour. So it's 44 cents profit. So it's not really. That's much less than minimum wage. But what I did manage to accomplish was I got a small but successful Kickstarter. I managed to get on a couple of blogs and other news sites for games. And it was a lot more simple than one might expect. Basically, you just create a cool demo, you make a good copy of a Kickstarter campaign, and then I sent it to as many of these sites that I could possibly find. It was either you hit them up on Twitter, and you go, hey, I've got a cool game, we want to check it out, and out of the 70 that I got, only 7 replied. But that's still 7, right? And that's going to be normal for most people, because a lot of these websites that want to market your that market games expect money out of it. And so I didn't want to do that, so I only managed to get a couple of people hooked in. But at the end of the day, that still drove, I guess, people to my Kickstarter page. And from that, I was able to, I was able to fund around $2,300 for Dictator. Though I do have some advice on Kickstarter in general. If you're making a mobile game, if you're making a free-to-play game, or if it looks like it's a game for children, those are like 3 of the red flags for a Kickstarter game. Like, that would make it not successful. So I hit basically all 3 of those red flags. Because, mobile games, people don't value it as much. Free-to-play games, well, why would I fund it if it's going to be free? And kids for games, well, I mean, it looks like, if it looks like it's a kid for a game, then A, I'm probably not going to be the one that's playing it, and B, by the time it's done, then my kid will be grown up. So those are the main issues with my Kickstarter. So I set the bar for funding very, very low, because funding the game, that happened after I knew I was going to release it. This wasn't a Kickstarter that would actually create the game. Like, it helped me with hardware and publishing to an extent, but this was just a proof of concept to figure out whether or not it was a marketable product. And so by spending $0 on marketing, but also getting some revenue out of it, and by being able to say, yeah, I was Kickstarted, and that's like a badge of honor for a game, right? That's part of the whole marketing strategy that was able to boost the game to where it is today.
That's pretty interesting. Marketing with $0 and seeing how far it goes to test marketability, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's important to test the market, and I think that I was I got confident enough in it. Though I would say that I really failed in marketing when it came to actually publishing the game. Because I didn't get nearly as many people talking about Dictator upon launch as I did in the Kickstarter. I built up an email list of around 400 or 500 people, but it was like a 4% open rate on opening day. So it was like, okay, I got the money, and that's where the bulk of my revenue has been from so far. But I've only made $150 off of in-app purchases and ads. So it's like Kickstarter, $2,000, actual launch, $100. So, oh well.
Well, you got the game out. You said, I remember before, you said you just wanted to make a really cool game, and I think you pulled that off. So
yeah,
there's something there.
Well, at least I made the game. I wouldn't if I didn't have a company if I didn't have this marketability in mind, then I don't know if I could have finished it. Right? Because it's so easy to go to another project. I think that's the thing that a lot of people really struggle with. Once they get a new project idea, they want to work on that new project. And that could make sense, but it's very valuable to get the entire experience as a solo developer than if you just always were always starting another thing. So, going through the entire process is a lot more valuable than starting 12 different hypothetical projects.
Yeah, because you at least get to see it finished.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And let's say you do have the project that that ends all projects, right? You have the best project ever, and it actually will be Right, exactly. You have Minecraft. Okay, but like I'm 50% done with it and I'm in a completely new area. What do I do now? It's like I've never marketed before. I've never done a release. I've never done a press release. What do I do now? So it's really important to just get something out there, treat it professionally, even if you don't think it is, and just run with it.
Actually, Minecraft itself, I'm pretty sure it was like based off a game that was like called Infinite Miner. And Infinite Miner was like actually very, it was basically exactly what you described. It was a great game, but he just didn't take it to completion, and then Minecraft basically was inspired by that, and they actually did take it to completion.
Like the developer of
Yep.
Infinite Miner didn't take it to completion, and then the developers of Minecraft took it to completion, and they made quite a ruckus. Yeah.
Quite a ruckus. $2.3 billion.
Whoa. Okay.
Whoa.
Well, what?
Did you make any? Are you making any other games right now?
Right now, well, so the idea of Dictator was very similar to other 4X strategy games. It gets released, we release a DLC, and then we continue releasing DLCs. So I've finished the first DLC that came with launch, and right now I have plans for creating a second DLC. I haven't really gotten onto that because I got sidetracked by another project, which it has nothing to do with game development. It's a website. It's a BuzzFeed knockoff called Quiznomer. But it was just to test out web development skills, because you're gonna have to, if you're gonna be a developer, web development is where a lot of the jobs are at. So, but so no, I'm not working on any other games right now.
Oof. Well, but did developing the game did developing Dictator actually kind of feed into like this next step, this your web development skills a little bit?
Okay, well, definitely, because as a developer, you have a lot of things that you have to think about, right? You have to. I definitely gained a good understanding of programming in general. I always say that doing is much better than learning in a class, right? Like it if you put like all of this information that I've learned, all this experience that I've gotten from Dictator has really helped me as a developer make stuff. Like I can quickly iterate and learn new things because of the way that I experience of the things that I experienced with Dictator. And Unity's based off of C#, which is very similar to Java.
Just for anyone who's not familiar with it, the Unity is a game engine. Basically, it's a tool for creating games.
Yeah. So it's a game development engine that's based off of C#, and C# is part of the .NET, I guess, family that Microsoft has developed, and you can use that for a lot of things. So, like all the architecture that you create for your game could also technically be used for something else, like a Xamarin project. Right? It's like, and you're gonna have to use it eventually if you're going to be creating application. So there are technical skills that you will learn, but there's also soft skills like understanding like how object-oriented programming really works on a larger scale. Because I have well over 1 million lines of code in my game, so I had to architecture it correctly to actually make sense of it all. So yeah, definitely, there's lots of stuff that I've learned from this experience.
That's good to know. Well, let's see. What else can we talk about? Oh yeah. So you developed a I don't want if I accidentally just like discredit you as like a solo game developer.
Mhm.
Like that might I apologize. But like did you like did you like the game is mostly your own project, but
Yeah.
like did you ever like outsource to anyone else, and like how did you like get to those people?
So I had a friend called Kevin, and he helped me out for like 2 months, and he also helped me out at the very end when I was getting to my deadline and I needed to get a whole bunch of icons done. He helped me out with the icons, and he also helped me out with creating the research system and some land generation. So he was a very integral part at the start of the project, basically. And I just knew him because he was a good friend. That's being in Silicon Valley gives you a big advantage because everyone learns computer science through osmosis. It's like programming is the biggest economy in Silicon Valley, right? So everyone, you can go to anyone and be like, hey, do you know how to code? And there's a larger than average chance that they'll say yes. So if you just get friends in the area in your programming class, or just even in the group, it's just easy to say, hey, you want to start a project together, or hey, I have a cool project, do you like it? The largest issue, though, is getting someone on board because everybody wants to do their own thing. And I wouldn't say that that's a bad thing, but let's say you're just starting out making a game, right? You've never finished a game. One of the best things that you can do is join someone else's project. You can just go online to like Reddit or something and be like, go to one of those people who are like hobby/revenue share that probably never get anywhere and be like, hey, if you need anyone, I'd like to join. And that's a very good way of getting experience. And from there, then you can say, okay, I worked on all of these projects. I have all of the experience. Then people will want to get onto your project a little bit more than if you're just some guy who gets on and says, hey, first time game dev, I don't want to make Skyrim, So that's the way to do it free. I also contracted some people to make icons, to do marketing in some senses for like search engine optimization. And my experience with that is don't do it. Unless you have the funds to pay someone an actual salary, they're not going to do good work. And I'll tell you what, I did not have the funds to give them an actual developer salary. So I did not get good work, and I felt like it was mostly a waste of money. So you can do things by yourself.
I see.
You have the ability to do so. Everyone has the ability to do so.
Yep. Especially with
you just have to learn.
Yeah, and especially like with like you can nowadays you can kind of go anywhere. You can go on YouTube, or if you're you can like audit a course on Coursera.
Yeah.
For like online courses. And yeah, it's pretty easy to learn kind of anything you want to know. And if you like are looking for a specific problem, you can just go on like game development forums or like game engine specific forums like Unity forums. You can just go in there and like try and glean something
exactly
on there. So
yeah. And that's one of the major things with finishing something, because when you're finishing something, you encounter all of these issues and you're like, oh my gosh, I should have done this earlier, or you're like, this is a bug I've never encountered before. I'm gonna smash my head against the wall 1,000 times until I finally get it. But then you learn something, you have this experience, and so the next time that you're doing it, it's going to be a lot smoother. So that's one of the that's why I advocate for finishing something just in general.
I see. So it doesn't have to be a game. It like the problem is
no.
It's mostly a problem with games, I think, or at least I hear a lot about like amateur or like prospective game developers. They're trying to develop their own game, but then they just keep starting over and over. But it doesn't just apply to game development.
It does not.
Yeah.
Because so all this time, so in the last year of development of my game before release, I went to college. And when I went to college, I got really engaged with the entrepreneurship community. And, so I got a couple of grants for the game, along with the Kickstarter. And so that helped me, I got a MacBook now. So that's how I can, it's a cheap one, not a good one. But, it's one nonetheless. It's required if you want to develop for Apple. And from this, I found that a lot of people, like, it's not just game developers who want random people to work for them for free. It's everyone that wants the people to work for them for free. You get lots of wannabe entrepreneurs coming in and going, hey, I'm working on this idea. Do you want to work on it for me? Right? And a lot of the time they'll say no, because you're going to have to give them reasonable equity, and you're going to have to provide something for a group. And even if you don't know how to do game development, there's still lots of other things that you could do. You could do marketing, though I see that as more of a soft skill than an actual technical one. Or you could just generally do outreach to find new people and lead the team. Because I've seen people like I met a vice president of engineering at Roblox, and he doesn't know how to code. The only reason he is the vice president of engineering at Roblox is because he was able to lead teams very effectively as an entrepreneur. And so that gives him the problem-solving skills that you need to lead a team. But, at the end of the day, it's going to be very difficult to get a team. So start working on that first, I guess.
Yeah, especially I think as if you're an indie game developer, or if you're just starting out in the game development industry and you're trying to make your own game like you did, it can be pretty difficult, because you kind of you don't really start with a lot. You're kind of heading towards your dream, and it's hard to, since you don't have, since there's not a lot you can provide for other teammates, it's hard to pursue that dream, even though you do need a team. It is possible to finish like you did, I think. You learned a lot along the way.
So Dictator is not my first game.
Yeah.
It's not my first finished game either. So I made a previous game that was it's along the lines of what? Okay. It's along the lines of a tempo run kind of esque game, right? Very, very generic, except it used shapes. And that was a complete utter disaster. I spent a year and a half making it, but I did it. I started it. I didn't know anything. I completed it. Okay. And then I finished it. And it's out there. And I learned a lot of things along the way. I learned the importance of marketing. I learned, how to architecture things in a better way. And that's just, another example of you have to finish it to get somewhere. I would say that your first project should not be your dream project. Maybe that makes you feel like if you do a dream project, it might make you want to finish it more. But very often, the dream project is a dream. And if you don't have the resources to make it, then you're going to be making it for years, or you're going to end up quitting and never finishing it. So if you just get a good small idea, then you take that and go with it, because it's always going to take longer than you think. Always. I thought I was going to finish Dictator in 6 months. 3 years later, here I am. So, you just gotta.
I think that was a pretty good.
Yeah,
that was
learned a lot.
Pretty good concluding. Yeah, you should be a speaker actually.
Thank you.
Yeah. So don't like. Well, it's not that I don't think you meant don't follow your dream project, but I think you meant at least
You need the steps to get there.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it will be a disappointment when you hit all these hurdles.
Yeah.
Right. You don't set off going to the when you start walking and say, "Ooh, I want to do competitive running," right? And you don't start competitive running when you're a toddler. You know, you don't get to the Olympics instantly. So don't try to compete at the Olympics until you have the ability to do so.
All right. With those, a very, inspiring. I guess is that inspiring? No, is it practical?
Warning.
Warning.
It's warning.
Inspiring.
I'm very pessimistic.
Yeah, you'll get to the Olympics someday, but just don't go all the way there.
If you try hard
first try. With that, I think we'll be done here. Thank you very much, Jeremy, with opening up about your development of Dictators. Actually, wait, we actually never touched on how did you start it? Like, where did the idea come from? Maybe we should.
Okay.
We're going in reverse.
Okay, all right.
We started from in the middle of development, and now we're talking about where did it come from.
Start of development. All right. So I finished my game. I was creating some other project that will never see the light of day, and I was like, all right, I don't really like this project. It's probably going to take forever. And then one day I was in bed and I thought of this wonderful, wonderful pun. Dictator, all right? Tater, oh, that's a potato. Dictator, oh my gosh, I can make a game about potatoes. And that's literally the only reason that I made it. I do like strategy games, and I've always wanted a strategy game that was similar to other strategy games, but on mobile. So I was like, you know what? This is a perfect opportunity to make one. You know, I thought it was going to be very simplistic, but over time, more and more was added to it to make it a feasible game, basically. So that's where it started, basically. I was in my bed and I thought of a pun. Thus begins the 3-year journey.
Okay.
So, is there anything else that? I guess not. Well.
Cool.
All right. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
Hope you're working on a website, right? Quiznomer.
Yeah, I'm working on a website right now. Quiznomer. Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Thank you.
And I guess for anyone who's watching, I guess we'll see you in the third Game Development Club podcast.
All right.